Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Sid.
And I'm Mackie.
And today we're going to talk about some of the best beginner enduros to do in the US.
We had a lot of people ask after we did our last video about the hardest enduros or the three most difficult enduros. And a lot of people say, well, that's great, but I've never raced an enduro. What would be a good beginner enduro?
So first off, we just want to say that probably your best first mountain bike race or first enduro is whatever is going on in your local area, like a local enduro, a local super D, even like a local cross country, like
or a local downhill.
Local downhill, like any of those are a good way to get into racing with no pressure and no expectations and just a fun crowd.
Yeah, and the skills that you'll get from racing a cross country or a downhill both apply to racing enduro because it's sort of a mix between the two. So do a local race. That's a great way to get into it. See if you like racing, like the competition.
If you've already done your local race and you want to try something that is a national level race, but a good intro one, these are our recommendations.
Yeah. So number one is the Sea Otter Enduro in Monterey, California. Sea Otter is a big mountain bike festival. There's tons of events, downhill, cross country. There's a bunch of road events. There's cyclocross events. It's crazy. There is also an enduro. The Sea Otter Enduro is a great intro race because it's pretty short. Last year, I ended up doing the entire race in like 3.5 hours. Distance-wise, it's fairly short, and there's nothing too crazy. You do end up racing the downhill course, but the Sea Otter downhill doesn't have any mandatory gaps or anything crazy. You race the Super D course, so that's cool, but everything's rollable. And then you race a couple of cross-country descents, and it's a neat mix of all the different types of stuff that you might race without anything being super hard or super technical.
And the other benefit of Sea Otter is that because it's such a huge event and because it's a USAC event, that means you have a lot of categories, so you can race against people who are your age and your level. And that, I think, can be really fun and more encouraging for a first-time racer than just jumping right into like an elite level race.
Yeah.
Our second recommendation is the Scott Enduro Cup in Moab. It's the opening round of the Scott Enduro Cup. Competition is usually pretty high, especially at the pro level, but the courses are not wildly technical and the whole loop takes about 3.5 hours. Depends a little bit on how long you're waiting.
It's at the Klondike Bluffs in Moab, so the weather is usually nice and cool. It's easy to pre-ride, and it's just a fun set of trails. Every time, everyone is like, yeah, that was just fun racing.
It's definitely like rocky and slick rock, but it's not steep, and there are no jumps or gaps or anything super technical, so it's just fun. And the climbs are, I won't say they're easy, but they're definitely manageable. If you have some experience mountain biking and maybe have done some local races, it's a good one to step it up for.
That's a really great one. For all of these, you can race them as a beginner, you can race them as a pro. Moab we always end up going to, even though we've raced it a bunch of times, because it's just really fun. The third race that we would recommend if you want to get into racing enduro is the Mayhem Enduro in Zanesville, Ohio. It's in an area called the Wilds, and the people who've built the trails are ex-downhill racers, and so there's a focus on flow trails and some big jumps and stuff, and so it's really neat because it's different than anything else in the Ohio area, and they really take full advantage of the fairly limited elevation difference they have, and they make it really fun. The cool part is there are these jumps, and some of them are gap jumps, but none of them are mandatory. So everything has a go around. So if you want to work on hitting some jumps, you can. If you're like, whoa, jumps are not my thing, you can also just skip them. It was a fun environment. It was a really fun vibe. Like everybody had a good time, was hanging out and chatting. So that's definitely one that we would recommend as a first enduro. One of the cool things about all three of these races is that they have a really relaxed vibe. There are no specific start times, there are no specific transition times, which you do get at some of the more advanced races, national races, and especially at Enduro World Series. But none of these ones have set times, so you can ride with your friends, you can get up to the start line, the start will start you, you meet up with your friends at the bottom, and like it really just is a fun day out on the bike. Everyone's super supportive, they're cheering for each other. It's really fun. Enduro is awesome.
Like you said, probably your best bet for a first race is to find something local, like just a fun race, something chill. But yeah, if you want to step it up, these are all good options. Okay, thanks for watching today. That's all. Make sure you subscribe for our next video. If we missed a good beginner enduro, if there's one in your area, leave it in the comments. We'll pin your comment so that other people can see that recommendation, because obviously we haven't raced every race in the US, though pretty close.
So we've raced a lot of them. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.